You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
All right, and welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and I am joined, as always, by your co-hosts, Kevin and Alex. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Doing good, man. We made it through Labor Day. We had the big draft push. We had our home league draft. We had the college football season kick us off with a lot of blowouts, right? There were a lot of boring games on, but there were a couple really good games on, right? CU and TCU, LSU and FSU was a fun game that was on while we were doing our draft. And then Monday night, that Duke Clemson game was...
Has there ever been a team more snake bit than Clemson's offense was during that? Like,
and I don't even want to hear it because Duke had 2 turnovers there in the first half too, right? And yes, they managed to overcome. So,
but just silly mistake on silly mistake. How many times have you practiced that handoff mesh in fall camp, right? In fall practice, how many times have you practiced that, and then for it to not work at the worst possible time? Like, oh my gosh! And then the interception at the end with 5 minutes left. Off your receiver's hands, like what? Just a bad break. Just a bad break there.
Yeah. So some good games, right? They were
fantastic.
So it was nice to see football back on the TV. Honestly, like I said, a lot of blowouts, a lot of 30, 40 point spreads from the upper echelon of Power 5 conferences all the way across. But there were some good ones tied in there nonetheless. And we got a highlighter of a college football game here coming up in week 2 with Texas at Alabama. So, I mean, it is time.
And a fun old throwback with Colorado and Nebraska, 2 teams that hope they're on the upswing, right?
Okay. Here is my crazy stat. Last Thursday, before Nebraska kicked off against Minnesota, they were an 8-point favorite against Colorado. After Colorado beat TCU on Saturday, Colorado jumped to a 3-point favorite. There was an 11-point swing in that game in 3 days.
And I can tell you right now, I don't think I want any action on either side of that. I don't know.
Colorado smash them. This Nebraska team's not good.
I don't think the Nebraska team's getting good, but was that a flash in the pan for Colorado? Can they back it up?
Yep. I say yes. I would. In fact, I will. I will put a good amount of money here on Colorado to cover the 3 points this Saturday because I think they wipe the floor with Nebraska.
I mean, it's possible.
Kevin knows where I'm rooting. I'm rooting to CU all the way to the Big 12 championship game. I just want them to make it there. Or not the Big 12, the Pac-12 championship game.
Speaking of, how about that? The only conference that had a fantastic, opening weekend is the conference that's not going to exist next year.
Well, they're also the conference that didn't play a single high-profile game.
Oh, Colorado, TCU. That's a high-profile.
Okay, sorry. One.
Right?
Well, no, TCU
Utah beat Florida.
Florida's unranked. Florida's not ranked.
It's an
Its name. Name.
Yeah, I get that.
And Colorado was supposed to just be a tune-up for TCU. Like that was not a we're scheduling tough out of conference type of thing to bolster the rankings. That was the when TCU put Colorado on the schedule. That was this is our tune-up game. This is the one that we're expecting to get the 2-10. 3-9 type of CU program. So
the one and forever CU Buffaloes.
But yes, the Pac-12 went 13-0. I'm still not a buyer. I'm still not a buyer of the conference.
No, me either. But
all I'm hoping for is
CU
to make it
one.
to the Pac-12.
Yeah, they showed well week 1, but I am not buying. Now, I'm extremely disappointed in the SEC. I am disappointed in how LSU looked. I am disappointed in how Florida looked completely unprepared for Utah. I am disappointed that South Carolina, after the way they finished last year on such a high note with some back-to-back amazing wins against Tennessee and Clemson, that they come out and just look like a puddle of goo against North Carolina. Like,
some might say they looked like the Duke's Mayo that they were
right.
playing in.
So I'm extremely disappointed with how the middle to lower end of the SEC looked as a whole. That's a problem. But then again, the middle to lower end of the Big Ten didn't look a whole hell of a lot better. And same with the ACC, right? Like, so it was an interesting for.
I'm just glad that I got to sit back and actually watch an OU program that had some fight in them on both sides of the ball this time around. So I like the way that they started. Anyway, we talked a whole lot about the old college pigskin here. Started the NFL season here in just a couple of days. We got a whole lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the AFC, our predictions, team breakdowns, the over-unders on what we think their win totals will be here. We've got the Thursday night football preview and what our thoughts are going to be there. And the Pine and the Shine. It is back. It is back. The Pine and Shine is back. This year we've got even a little bit of a twist on our Pine and Shine. So this one should be a whole lot of fun here. And for everybody out there, you can find us on the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of those places at Good Old Boys FF. But the best place to support this independent podcast is head on over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/at Good Old Boys FF. Click that subscribe button, ring that bell. We are inching ever so close to the monetization over there on YouTube, and every sub at this point helps that out. So countdown is on there, boys. What are the thoughts? There's a bunch of news going on. Let's hit up some news before we get into the RAFC predictions and breakdowns here. Probably the biggest one with the most fantasy implications is the news breaking earlier today about Travis Kelce and the hyperextended knee, as it's being reported. Did see some reports where they believe the ACL is intact, but it may be tough for him to rock and roll here Thursday. Any thoughts on this one?
Your roster strength is going to be tested right away. You hate to see it happen at any point. You hate to see it happen with the best player in a position group for sure. But it's going to test your roster strength and your ability to build one out with taking tight end in the first round, right? Like I have my own leagues where I have to do that as well. So I'm in the same boat with a lot of different people, but it's a bummer. But hopefully you grabbed a second tight end kind of late in the draft, whether it was a Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett, Chigga Okonkwo, like someone of that nature to try and help you out here a little bit during a bye week. And you might have to use him here for the first week or two, because I'm not going to start Travis Kelce now. I'm not going to, because even if he plays, he is going to be on a pitch count. It's the beginning of the season. They're going to baby him along now. Like, I'm not doing it. So Travis Kelce is now a no start for me this week.
Yeah, unfortunately. Kevin, you said it. You hate to see it happen to really anybody, but for it to happen to the best player in the group, and then for it to happen in practice, like it's one thing if it happens in a game, but damn that it happens in practice. It kind of sets you back, but I'm with you. I don't think you can start. I don't think in good conscience you could start Kelce this week, and maybe that burns you. Maybe he only does have 2 or 3 catches, and they're both for touchdowns, but that's too much of a risk.
I fully intend on listening to his podcast this week. Like, I want to see what him and Jason are talking about.
Well, on top of that, it's a Thursday game too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's just a lot. If there's a Sunday game, maybe we feel differently, right? See how he, sits out Wednesday's practice, sits out Thursdays. Maybe he does the walkthrough on Friday, but he's feeling better, warms up, feels good. You plug him in last minute on Sunday, right? Like this Thursday game, this is a deal, but this is why you're not going to play him. You're not going to play him because you sit him out and then he has 10 days. Like, you sit him out, he has 10 days. So he's had 2 weeks where he hasn't had to do anything. You put him in an ice bath, you let him do some water resistance training, right, to keep his cardio up so that way he can stay in shape, but it's not putting hard pressure on the knee. And then you see how it goes. But 2 days after a hyperextended knee, guys, that would be out of this world if he would be able to play at this point. And not that it's that severe, but how the Chiefs are going to bring him along. Anybody who thinks he's going to play on Thursday at this point in time, I think you're a little too optimistic.
There's an old adage among football coaches that you can't win the championship in week 1, but you can certainly put yourself behind the 8 ball if you do something dumb in that first week. So I think that the Chiefs will be smart with him. I think they have to say, for appearance's sake, right? You can't just say, yeah, Travis is down. They have to play this game, so that Detroit doesn't gain an advantage by knowing that they no longer have to game plan or scheme for Travis Kelce, because that is a big part of what Detroit is going to have to focus on defensively. But, the gamesmanship is there. And I don't think that Kansas City is going to say, oh, yeah, he's not playing. No, they're going to make Detroit think that he's still playing regardless of what the injury is, so that Detroit still has to take some of their game prep and time and devote it towards how do you stop Travis Kelce. So I just don't see him playing. I don't see it with the injury happening on a Tuesday, the game being on a Thursday. I just don't see it happening. I don't see Kelce playing.
Fair enough. And we'll get more into this one here too when we get into Thursday night football breakdown here. Any other news notes we want to talk about before we get into the AFC preview? Alrighty, let's go ahead and head right on into that old AFC preview here. And we're going to start in the AFC East. We've got the Bills. The over-under win total is 10.5. Thoughts on the Bills?
I'm going to take the over on the Bills here to start off. I think they get to 11. I think, yes, they're going to drop some games. Yes, that division's a little bit tougher. But I think that there's a pretty clear path for them to get to 11 wins here or more. So I'm going to take the over for the Bills right out of the gate.
I will also take the Bills over. I'm bullish on them. I've got them going 12-5 this year. I do think, yes, there are games that they will lose. They have another meeting with the Bengals. I believe the Chiefs are on their schedule. So there are losable games on the schedule. But I think more often than not, they're coming away with a W. So I've got them going 12-5 and winning that division.
Fair enough. I've got them also on the over side of it. I think they're going to get about 11 wins on this one and just sneak over the over on that one. So should be a lot of fun there. Let's go ahead and head right on into the Dolphins. The win total on them at 9.5 as the over-ender. Thoughts on Dolphins?
This one's tough because I worry about Tua, right? If Tua is healthy, I think they can get to 10. If Tua is not healthy, they're 8-9, right? I mean, if not worse. So I'm going to lean towards the under. I'm going to say they're under 9.5.
I'm also leaning towards the under, just under. I think they go 9-8 this year. Again, there are winnable games, but they also have a really, really difficult. They drew the NFC East, which is tough games in there with the Eagles, the Cowboys. I think we'll see an improved Giants team because that game's early in the first 5 weeks. They also get the AFC West. So it's not an easy schedule for the Dolphins. So I've got them under at 9-8.
I've also got them under, just barely. I think that they're going to go 9-8 as well, right? Tough division. And I think they're going to be right about 500 when it's all said and done. But sneak in with the 9-8, just under that. Let's go ahead and head on in to the Jets here. Jets win total also 9.5. Thoughts on this one?
I'm gonna buy the Kool-Aid for the Jets. I'm gonna say the Jets are over 9.5 wins this year.
I am not buying the Kool-Aid. I see them again. They drew some tough competition. Aaron Rodgers is not the same Aaron Rodgers. I know that we all want to believe that, but like he is getting older. He is going to have to establish a new offense with new players. And yes, I know that Nathaniel Hackett's his coach and he brought over a bunch of players from his days in Green Bay, but like it's all new. And so I think that the Jets are being overhyped. It's a great line, but I'm taking the under, and I think they barely get over 500 with a 9-8 record.
How dare you put his coach's name in your mouth? Like how dare you do that?
I don't like saying. I feel gross every time I say that name.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Nathaniel Hackett with the Hackett jobs on the team.
How about a guy that can make Josh McDaniels look like a really good NFL coach for the Broncos?
Right. Anyway, I've also got them on the under. I think it's just going to be barely, though. I think this is a 9-8 type of team here. Aaron Rodgers gets them a couple of wins, sure, more so than Zach Moss or any of the other starters that they rolled out there last year. But again, they've got some tough matchups there. This is a tough division. And the AFC is far more difficult, far more games that happen, or tougher games that seem to happen week in, week out over there than what you see in the NFC, especially divisional. So
hold on real quick, since you guys are both under on the Jets.
Sure.
How many division wins do you guys see the Jets with?
Let me pull that up here.
Yeah, give me a second. I have them. I have them splitting with Miami and beating and splitting with the Patriots, losing both to the Bills.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm gonna just say cosign on that one.
All right.
It wouldn't surprise me though, looking at this thing with the way their schedule lays out. Right, they've got the Cowboys, Patriots, Chiefs, Broncos, Eagles. Like it would not surprise me to see them starting off at 1-4 or 2-3. Like really would not surprise me to see them starting off at a 1-4, 2-3 mark to start their season.
And I think that's possible, right? And I think it's kind of work through it on the back end because I see them sweeping the Patriots and splitting the Dolphins and the Bills. So I have them with one more division win is all, right? But I think they can get to 4 wins in the division.
It's just out of the division. Like, yes, they have the Falcons and the Texans, and I think those are 2 very winnable games. They're late in the year, so you never know. You get Washington, but other than that, you're at Cleveland, you're at Las Vegas, which I think is a coin flip right now. And that game isn't until November. But you get the Chargers at home, you're at the Broncos, the Eagles at home. Like, I just think, the signage will be for the Giants when you're playing them at your home. But it'll be all blue signs all around. I just think there are very difficult out of division games this year. And the fact that they get both the Falcons and the Texans is helpful. But I just don't see enough of it happening.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right, let's go ahead and head on over into the Patriots. Over under win total 7.5. Thoughts on the Patriots?
Under.
Yeah, I also have the under. I have them going.
I don't think offensively they're going to be able to do it, right? Like Mac Jones is going to have to show substantial growth. They don't really have anything as far as skill position players outside of Ramondre Stevenson and Zeke Elliott's red zone presence to get them points. I get it. They're going to kind of mess around with a couple different tight ends, but is anybody trusting a New England Patriots wide receiver at this point? because I'm not.
Well, you saw the reports that Juju's knee could blow up at any moment.
At any time.
And Tyquan Thornton's already on IR.
Right. So this is one of those that I almost just said push on this one. Yep, 7.5. Like not going to surprise me if they win 7 games and tie one. Like I could see that happening. I think that they may find a way to get to 8. I'm going to be the lone wolf and call it and just say that I think they find a way to sneak to 8. But yeah, I don't feel real good about that call either, though. So, yeah.
I see one for sure. Maybe 2 with the Commanders and the Colts in back-to-back weeks there. For the record, I don't have them winning just 2 games. I have them going 6-11 this year. But that is the under. And it's going to be tough. Kevin, you said it. What do they have aside from Zeke in the red zone? And Zeke in the red zone is great, but you got to get to the red zone first. So what are you going to do between the 20s? Can Mac Jones move the football? Can
Dump it off to Andre Stevenson 15 times a game is what you're going to have to do.
Yeah, like having a great red zone weapon is great. Getting to the red zone to utilize said great red zone weapon, I think, will prove a challenge.
Absolutely. All righty. We do have a question coming in here. Let's go ahead and hit this one up here. Blurpay on YouTube was saying a 2 flex PPR 10-person league. Quarterbacks are Ty Law and Rodgers. Running backs ETN, Connor, Rashad White, AJ Dillon, and P. Ryan. Wide receivers Diggs, Garrett Wilson, Debo, Christian Watson, Judy, Tony. Tight ends Higbee, Ravens defense, kicker of Myers. What do you think? I think you've got some really good pieces and some pieces that you're gonna probably want a little bit more upshot being in a 10-person league than what you've got there. We're kind of all outspoken here a little bit on our Debo thoughts, and Alex is kind of the lone person planting the flag on Christian Watson this year. But I think you did all right here. I think that there's going to be some of that you're kind of challenged a little bit on some of this depth right off the gate there with both Judy and Tony right now. But thoughts on this one?
I think he's all right. I like Trevor Lawrence and Aaron Rodgers. I think that's a really good combo as far as quarterback being able to play the matchups and we expect Lawrence to ascend, and if Rodgers can rekindle some of his own magic, I like that pairing with Garrett Wilson. So I think that's fun. Obviously, Diggs and Wilson as your wide receivers 1 and 2. Really
like that combo.
Yeah, I do too. It's going to put you that's where you're going to separate yourself probably the most there. I worry about your wide receiver room only because Connor and Rashad White playing on what we think are going to be kind of anemic offenses. So yes, they're going to see a lot of volume. It's just a matter of what they can do with that volume. And if one of those guys goes down, I think you're going to be hurting in that position a little bit. So with it being a 2-flex league, I'm just looking through that. Like, I think for now you have to run ETN, Connor, and White, and Diggs, Wilson, and Debo, right? Like those would be 3 and 3. Like I think you can make an argument to play Christian Watson over Debo here in week 1 as kind of a high upside play, because I think the Steelers defense is better than the Bears. So play Watson for that high upside play. I like Higbee, especially with the Cooper Kupp thing. I think he's going to see, over the course of the year, he'll see over 100 targets again. So I like Higbee as a late tight end. Ravens defense, awesome week 1, especially playing against the Houston Texans. Yeah. And, kickers are kickers. So that part is what it is. So overall, I think it's a solid roster, right? I don't want to give it like an amazing roster just because I have concerns with the running back room and with Debo personally. with knowing what you had to spend on him, but there's enough value here that I think you can trade into a position of need, right? Like I think you can package, I think you could do Debo and AJ Dillon for an upgrade at running back, right? And whether it's Josh Jacobs, or if Derrick Henry starts slow, you could look at that too.
Right. And if you do a 2-for-1 type of deal, Van Jefferson likely is hanging out there still. That's worth going and grabbing as well, just to see how he shakes out there as well. So that is one of the things too, that you could do a 2-for-1 type of trade like Kevin's talking about. And then there's still probably, especially in a 10-person league, you're probably looking at some gems still on the waiver wire that you could go pick up and get some pretty good depth right away, right back into that roster.
Yeah, like if you find a Watson lover, right, you can pair Watson in one of those, right? And especially if Dobbs is left there. I know he's dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury here, but we collectively really like Romeo Dobbs this season. And if he can get healthy and get right, I think he will be an amazing stash if he's on your waiver wire. So solid roster, right? It will compete. There's upside potential, especially with the talent at wide receiver that you have. You could end up with wide receivers, 2 top 5 wide receivers pretty easily with Diggs and Garrett Wilson. So I think that is going to anchor your team. If Trevor Lawrence can ascend into, that QB6 territory, I think that helps, especially in a 10-man league. And then you need one consistent running back and one with a lot of high upside week in and week out to kind of carry you through.
Yeah, I would just say that this team is likely not the team you're going to end the season with, because I think you're going to have to flip some of those receivers to help you at running back.
So awesome. This comment just made me laugh, so I won't bring it up here.
I remember somebody saying this maybe a year ago or something.
Maybe Polaris might Polaris Knights might be making the the repeat into the comments there. Just saying, love it. It's the perfect evolution of beard growth. Which if you kind of go around the screen, yep, it's you got the short, the middle, and then I got the long thing going here. So, alrighty. So,
I swear to God, it's got to be the same guy. If it's not, we appreciate your joke, but you're not the first to make it.
Oh, it's so funny because I trimmed everything up this morning. Otherwise, it was not Derek Bushy, but I was getting bushy. So that's funny.
All right, one more question coming in here. We're gonna hit this one up, and then we're gonna head on over to the AFC North. JP on YouTube, 10-person league, half-point PPR. They've got Trevor, Bijan, Henry, Brees, Debo, Watson, Lockett, Quentin Johnston, and the tight end is Evan Ingram. I really like that roster construct there. Maybe not so much in the wide receiver, but quarterback, running back. Love that what you got going there, and I really like Evan Ingram as the tight end.
You have a lot of risk in the wide receiver room. I feel like there's a lot of risk there, but there's so much fun.
I think Tyler Lockett's the safest wide receiver of the bunch there.
Yes, and still a risk because of DK Metcalf and what is JSN going to be, right? Like, I think Lockett's the safest one.
Yes. And on that team, I think Lockett's the safest one.
Yes, but on the off chance, like, you got a lot of dudes playing fiddles here, right? Maybe they're playing first fiddle, but maybe they're playing second fiddle. But there's a lot of fiddlers in your wide receiver room.
The Texas internet's playing havoc with.
No, it's our damn power grid. Just kidding.
Right. They say,
but well, just the safest receiver, right? Like and that's just how we see it, right? But again, this is kind of the opposite of the first roster. Is Debo has a potential too, but there's a ton of mouths to feed, and you're not going Brock Purdy to do what you ask Trevor Lawrence to do, right? Like he's not going to drop back and throw the ball that often, and he's not going to run the ball anymore because you have Christian McCaffrey there and Elijah Mitchell's healthy. Like take some of that natural bump that we got from Debo 2 seasons ago, right? And really it was where you were drafting him that my problem was with Debo. Nevertheless, Bijan, awesome. Derrick Henry, awesome. Breece Hall, the back end of the season, will be an amazing flex play, right? I'm a little weary of him here in a few games, but if he gets through, week 6, week 7, I think Breece Hall is going to clearly take over as Dalvin Cook kind of wears down or gets nicked up kind of like he always does or whatever. But I love the wide receiver room. Again, I like Trevor Lawrence. I like the pairing with the tight end, right? Fun with him and Ingram. The wide receiver room does worry me a little bit, but that's only because I like Ayuk over Debo. Had him ranked, and we had, we think Romeo Doubs has real potential to be kind of the true number one as far as receptions and yardage goes for the Packers, right? Watson's going to have some monster weeks, right? He's going to have some huge high upside weeks. But I do think with Christian Watson, you're going to see some weeks that just make you scratch your head and go, did the guy even step on the field? So it's not a bad roster. It's going to compete. I think you can be happy with it. But just know you're going to have to shuffle things around a little bit. You might have to play the waiver wire a little bit more. If you don't like what Quentin Johnston's doing, and really what you're going to have to do is understand what his snaps per game is he on the field, right? Is he on the field for, 35? Is he only on the field for 15 a game? Because if Quentin Johnston is only on the field for, 15, 18 snaps a game, you can find higher upside on the waiver wire until Mike Williams or Keenan Allen, if they happen to go down with injury, that's where Quentin Johnston becomes so valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and head. Any other thoughts on that one? All right, let us head back here, head to the AFC North here, and we're going to start with the Cincinnati Bengals. Over under win total for them at 11. Thoughts on the Bengals?
Push.
12-5. Over.
I think they're also going to go 12-5 there as well, but I can see that push being a very attractive call there. Let's go ahead and head on to the Ravens. Win total on that over under 10. Thoughts on the Ravens?
I actually have an under here. I think they go 7-10 this year. I'm not very bullish on the Ravens. Yeah.
If Lamar Jackson decides that he wants to play football all season long and actually plays for all 18 weeks of the regular season, I think they can hit 10, possibly even 11. But if you have the same instance that we've had the last couple seasons where Lamar gets dinged up, whether it's his ankle or his back or anything like this, and if he's going to be throwing the ball more, chances are he's going to take more blindside hits. The good thing as a running quarterback is generally you see that hit coming and you can get down. If you're going to sit in that pocket and throw the ball more, you're going to take more sacks. So it's going to be interesting to see how he holds up with some of those hits because he really hasn't had to take massive hits to this point in his career. He's been able to get down and has avoided the big collision as he sits back. He's actually more susceptible to it staying in the pocket than he is actually as a runner.
Yeah. I've got him at 10 wins. This is a push type of scenario for me. So that's where I'm going. Steelers over under on this one was 9. Thoughts on the Steelers? Alex, you and I are in the same boat, I think.
Oh, all right. Well, I've got the under. Right? What did I have? I have the under. I've got them going 8-9.
All righty. I've got him as a push. I think that Tomlin does a way to do what Tomlin does, where he just finds a way to win enough games that he doesn't have a losing record. Like somehow they find a way to do it. I think they get to 9-8 this year.
10-6.
Kevin, you're
over.
There you go. 10-6. That is, I like it.
Sorry, I was fixing my internet. I think I might have been the problem.
Can't go 10-6.
10-7, whatever.
There we go.
Fair enough. Well, Alex, you say that there's two teams last year that went.
All right, yeah, because a guy literally died on the field. Yes, I don't anticipate that happening again this year.
Okay, good. All right, Browns 9.5 is the over under on them. Thoughts on the Browns?
I have the under, but I have them going 9-8.
I'll co-sign with that. I think 9-8. News has been a little shaky on Deshaun Watson up to this point. Like, I'm going to be very interested to see how he looks week 1. I have a decent amount of Deshaun Watson this year, hoping that, I like the value, right? I didn't want to invest completely in that high-end quarterback, but we're going to see how it pans out. I have a decent amount of Deshaun.
Right out of the gate, they get the Bengals, right? Like, that's a tough matchup right out of the gate. Tough matchup.
A lot of Nick Chubb coming up. A lot of Nick Chubb.
Yeah. Yep. I've also got 9-8 for the Browns. So the trifecta. We're all calling the 9-8 just under for them. All right, let's go ahead and move on over into the AFC South. Jaguars 9.5 is the over under win total. Thoughts on the Jags?
I believe in Jacksonville, which probably will end up getting me burned. But I've got Jacksonville winning this division at 10-7.
Yeah, I'll co-sign that because I think Jacksonville probably ends up 5-1 in the division, so they're halfway there.
Right. I think that they'll have a winning record, but they're going to go under. I've got them at 9-8 on this one, so just barely under. Which
winning the division at 9-8?
Yep, winning their division.
I mean, they have to. Like, they get the Colts and the Texans twice. Like, and then if you split one against the Titans, say you pick off the Titans at home, they've got such a great schedule. They get the Panthers right at the end of the year, at the Buccaneers. I mean, it's a very, very nice schedule for them. The one downside is they get the Niners and the Bills and the Chiefs.
The funny thing is the split in the division is against the Colts. I think Richardson will go off.
It does something. Just has a wonder game.
Yeah,
because like 230 yards rushing with 3 touchdowns or something, just absolutely mind-boggling.
That gets everyone in the fantasy community just like.
This is why we drafted.
If that shit happens on week 1, because they play each other week 1, if that happens on week 1, then watch it happen and watch what you can get. I think the smart ones will be able to get a king's ransom for Anthony Richardson should they choose to flip him after that first week.
Yes, there's a few leagues that I've got him on those dynasties. If he does what Kevin's saying and blows up for 200 rushing yards and multiple touchdowns, I'm immediately putting him out there and just seeing if I can get like 4 years worth of first and a starting quarterback back, because something tells me that I could walk away with that pretty easily. So, alrighty. Yes, it will be. Alrighty. Titans win total 7.5. Thoughts on the Titans?
I have the over 8 and 9.
I have the under 7 and 10.
I have the over at 8 and 9 as well. So, yep. Let's tighten up there, I guess. Alrighty. Colts, here we go. 6.5 is the over under on this one. And I want to know what handicapper in Vegas was setting this one to go. You know what's a good idea? The Colts, 6.5 is the line. I'm taking the under.
I too am taking the under. I've got them going, what did I say, 4-13? Yeah, 4-13.
Unanimous decision, under.
Yes. I've got them like, I think they'll also find a way to tie a game, Alex. So I'm going to take like 4-12-1.
That's fair. I mean, they get the Texans twice, so like there's at least one win, right? They also are at Atlanta late in the year. They get the Bucks at home, the Rams, which, I mean, They get the Rams at home.
That
So
Bucs
like,
defense is still legit, though. Like, I get we don't love their quarterback situation, but that defense could be crazy good, right? It's kind of and I think I said it last week or 2 weeks ago, right? It's kind of the NFC version of the Broncos last year, right? The quarterback play was terrible, but the defense was legit. Like, they are playoff caliber defense.
yeah.
Right.
I think getting to 4 is going to be a struggle for the Colts this year. I do think that there's going to be just that random Anthony Richardson game. I think that that's going to be a thing, but 3 more on top of that, I don't know. I just don't know.
Fair enough. All right. The Texans, 6.5 was the over-under win total for them. Thoughts?
Under.
Yeah, I'm also going under. I've got them 4-13. I got them the same record.
I got them 5-12. So the under there as well. So this is the team that I think it could sneak and pull away to find a way to come through. But yeah, still not loving that 6.5.
I think in 2 years, it's a different thing. D'Amico Ryans, I think, is a great coach. I think that CJ Stroud might be the answer down there, but Texans fans have endured a lot over the last couple of years, and I think they got at least one more year of enduring.
Their owner's sketchy character, so they kind of deserve it.
Yeah, that's fair.
All righty. Moving on over to the AFC West, Chiefs over under 11.5.
Over. Take it to the bank. 15-2.
Ooh. I sit there and go, ooh, and I've got them at 14-3, so it's not like
like I'm really going out on a limb here.
right? Like I said,
depends on how bad this Kelsey injury is, right? Like pre-show or pre-today, I'd have been right there with you. Like, if Travis Kelsey goes down for any length of time, how many wins does he equate for over the season, right? Like, it's the WAR, right? It's the baseball stat, like wins above replacement. What is Travis Kelsey's WAR?
It's got to be high. It's got to. I bet you.
Astronomically,
we can find
right?
it.
Like astronomically high. Now, the Chiefs do spread the ball around. They have, players here, there, and everywhere. And Andy Reid is an offensive genius and can overcome. Like, I'm not discrediting that. But for this exercise, you guys had him at 15 and 14 wins. I'm scratching my head. Like, can they get to 12 if he's going to be babied here for the first quarter of the season? Or do they drop a couple games early as they're reforming things until they can catch their stride later on, right? Because the Chiefs typically, the last couple seasons, have taken the old Patriots motto, right? Like, they limp along through the first 4 games of the season. That's their preseason. And then they start to find their stride. And down the stretch, they're lethal. So I'll say 12 wins. Like, I'm still going to say over. I'm not nearly as confident as you guys are in your 15 and 14 wins, but I'll call it over at 12.
I made my call last night when I did the doc at 14 and 3, but so well before the Kelsey news. But you're right. I think that he does definitely do that. But I think there's also something else at play there too with the Chris Jones holdout there as well, to the point where Chris Jones holdout, Travis Kelsey, if he misses some time there, like that could get really bad there, because that Chiefs defense, while isn't necessarily electric and doesn't necessarily just shut people down, without Chris Jones anchoring that defensive line, they've struggled in games where he misses. So that very well could be the 1-2 punch that knocks the Chiefs below this type of deal if that holdout continues and Kelsey misses much time here. So, all right, let's go ahead and hit up.
A lot of Dick Montgomery coming up on Thursday. We'll talk about that here in a little bit when we preview the game. But this Chris Jones thing is a big deal.
Yes. Chargers over under was 9.5. Thoughts on this one?
Over. They'll find a way to get to 10.
I have the under. I have them at 9 wins.
You had the perfect chance to go with the Lee Corso there, and just not so fast.
Not so fast.
Oh,
Watching.
Did anybody watch Game Day this last week?
Yes.
No,
I think
I'm bitter since they got rid of David Pollock.
Yes.
think Lee is God love him. He's been doing it a long time.
Same thing. They did the same thing with Lou Holtz, right? They kept Lou Holtz around until it was past when Lou Holtz needed to go. And it's not that the man didn't know football and is a legend in and in the announcing arena, but good Lord, let Lee Corso go into retirement. Like astronomical. The jackass that ESPN is doing right now.
The problem is, like, Lee Corso, this is what we're going to think of when we think of Lee Corso, and we should be thinking about everything else that he has accomplished as a coach and as a broadcaster, but final impressions, right? Anyways,
didn't mean to necessarily open up that whole can of worms, but I'm going to go 9-8 as well. I think they just go under on this one. Let's go ahead and hit up the old donkeys, the Denver Broncos here, the hometown team. Win total 8.5, over under. Thoughts?
Do I need to put my orange and because my orange and blue glasses, 17-0, we're winning the damn Super Bowl, but take those off, and it is a 9-win team. So I'll take the over.
I'm taking the under.
Yeah.
8-9. It's improvement, right? Like I think it's improvement. This first year, that's really that's what I'm wanting to see out of this team, being the hometown team. I want to see improvement. I want to see some sustained drives. I want to see them in the back half of the season have games that actually matter and at least give the appearance that you're fighting for something. But it's going to be hard for it. Going back to this, the way that we all think about the AFC North, it's going to be hard for some of these other teams to come out, right? Even it's going to be difficult for them, right? We like the top teams in the East between the Dolphins, Bills, possibly the Jets. We like three or all four of the teams in the AFC North. We like the Patriots, and we don't like the AFC South, right? So team out of the AFC South, and then that's it. And so these wild card spots are going to be crucial, but the Broncos aren't ready for that yet. Under 8 wins.
I'm going to take the just over. I think they find a way to limp into that 9-8 and finally get us out of the losing season statistic here. So,
does the streak against Kansas City end?
If Kelsey is playing, no.
If Chris Jones is playing, it's going to be hard this year because they play them so close together, right? They play them twice in 3 weeks.
Right.
And early, too, in October. They play them twice in October.
Nothing would make me happier than to see the Broncos win at home against Kansas City on my birthday.
That'd be a nice birthday gift. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be a nice birthday gift.
Yeah, I mean, it's how my weekend goes. I want Georgia to beat the brakes off of Florida, and then I want the Broncos to beat Kansas City. That's all I'm asking for.
All righty. Well, let's head out to Las Vegas here.
That's all you're asking for, but damn, are you asking for a lot?
Right.
All righty, we got the Raiders. Win total over under 6.5. Thoughts on Las Vegas?
I'll take the over. I got them 8 and 9. I think they're all right. I think they'll be okay this year.
I think they'll get to 7 over.
Okay, I'll be the odd person out here. 6 and 11. 6 and 11. So the under for me on this one. Alrighty. So that wraps up the conference preview there with the win totals, all of that. Let's go ahead and jump on into a Thursday night foosball. We got Detroit going to Kansas City to open up the season. The line on that 6.5, over under 54.5. And we're also going to be dropping a prop on this one as well. So a player prop to go along with it. Alex, why don't you go ahead and kick us off here?
Sure. All right. So I will take Kansas City minus the 6.5. I still think, even without Travis Kelce, I still think that they've got enough at home. Whatever they're calling Arrowhead now is going to be rocking to open up the season. So I will go with the Chiefs and the points. And I hate to do this, but I think I'm going to take the under. I hate taking the under because it's so much fun to root for points. But I'm going to take the under at 54.5. And the prop that I will take is Jared Goff over 35.5 pass attempts.
Fair enough. I'm going to take the Lions to cover as well. I think this first game of the year, Arrowhead's going to be crazy. What?
For what it's worth, I just saw that line is now 5 with the Kelce news. So it's dropped a whole 1.5 and has gone from basically a touchdown to not a touchdown.
Yeah, but we had it locked in at 6.
I know. We had it locked in at 6.5, but that's your movement, right? That's your movement.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Lions to cover. I'm gonna take the Lions to cover. My prop is gonna be David Montgomery over 52.5 rushing yards. This Chris Jones deal, like I was saying, is a problem. And where are they going to run Montgomery? Between the tackles. So I think it's going to be their way of it's how you keep Mahomes off the field, right? You play a shell cover 2 and try not to have him beat you over the top, and then you run the ball the best you can. The Lions have a great offensive line. They can run the ball, and I expect them to open up some holes. So I'm going to pound David Montgomery over 52.5 rushing yards for my prop. And then I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna go for fireworks here. Both these offenses can put up points. The Lions were in a lot of shootouts last year. I don't know that their secondary is good enough to completely hold Mahomes in check. And it's the first game. Everybody's a little rusty, so they'll find their strides offensively before the defense does. Points over.
I'm going to take Detroit to cover. I do like the fact that they're getting points on this thing. I think this thing's going to be a field goal type of game when it comes down to it. Like, I think this thing's going to be really close. Thursday nights tend to favor the defenses on the over-unders on those ones. So I'm going to take the under on this one here as well. And one of the props I liked Isaiah Pacheco over 49.5 rushing yards in this one here. So should be some pretty good fun. Should be some pretty good matchups here there. And certainly a lot of storylines to watch on as we kind of head into this one. What is Kelce going to, what's that look like? When does the Chris Jones holdout end? All of these different storylines for Kansas City, as well as the fact that Detroit has several really kind of fun storylines and just the up and coming emerging team, and where does their season take them type of thing in this one. So any other thoughts for Thursday night?
That'll be fun, right? These opening games are the teams that have a lot of fantasy relevance all the way across. So it'll be very entertaining. It'll make for some good DFS plays, right? A little, single slate matchup there. So you got to pick your MVP appropriately in that slot. But what a great way to kick off the NFL season. I can't wait.
I think it'll be a very fun and interesting way. I think it'll be interesting to see how the Lions use Jahmyr Gibbs early on, see kind of what they're doing with him. And how much will Monty? I think if that game's close, I think we see a healthy dose of David Montgomery, just because you don't want to let the rookie lose the game for you. So if it's close late, I think we see a healthy dose of Montgomery, regardless of situation. But it'll be interesting to see what they're looking at Jahmyr Gibbs with and how they're trying to get his feet wet into the NFL. Yeah.
It should be lots of fun there. So, And again, if you have any questions, comments, and throw them in the chat. Let's go ahead and rock and roll through those ones. So if you guys need any help setting lineups, anything like that towards the weekend, or you got some, want us to comment on your roster for fantasy, let us know there. But let's go ahead and head on into the Pine and the Shine for week 1. Pine and Shine, of course, is where we're picking guys to, that we don't think are going to necessarily live up to their expectations for the week for your fantasy roster, and guys that are going to outperform and go crazy on some of that. And we're going to change it up a little bit. Instead of just having one guy, we're going to call for a Pine and Shine. We're each taking a running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end that we think will be a Pine and a Shine for you. So let's go ahead and get that one kicked off here. And Alex, it looks like you're first up here.
Almost have one. All right. So my Pine running back, is that how you want to do it, Derek? Do you want to go
let's
running
go ahead
back first?
Yeah.
You want to roll running backs, or you want to roll all three?
Yeah, roll. So we'll roll yours, Kevin, mine, and then we'll roll back to you with wide receiver. And
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, cool. These are things that we probably should have discussed before we got to this segment, but whatever. Here we go. My first Pine running back is going to be James Cook. I think that the Bills are going to be done hearing about the Jets, and I think that Josh Allen is going to go ham, and I think that doesn't mean that there's going to be too many run plays called. So I will say that James Cook there is worth leaving on your bench.
Fair enough. My Pine running back is going to be Josh Jacobs. Had a lengthy holdout, joined the team a little bit late. I think his snap count's going to be a little limited here in week 1 as he gets in football shape. So I do think you're going to see a little bit more Zamir White than what you would normally anticipate. And Jacobs at RB8, I think is too high this week. So I am pining Josh Jacobs.
And you don't know how close I was to taking the Josh Jacobs one myself there as well. I really like that call there for the Pine. I'm going to go with another top-ranked running back here, Derrick Henry, who's the RB number 7 heading into the week. He's projected to do about 15 points here. This is a minus matchup going up against New Orleans, who's pretty decent on the defensive line there, tends to do all right against the run here. And Tennessee, whole lot of answers whole lot of questions that I've got on that O-line. A lot more questions than answers on that one. And that's one of the things I'm going to be looking to see what that offensive line looks like, especially when it comes to running the ball. But this is one of those I'm calling for Derrick Henry to be my Pine this week. Let's head on over to the wide receivers.
All right. Yeah. And it appears that I'm really going out on a limb with these guys that I'm taking, because Josh Jacobs is not projected to be in the RB2 category even, but still don't think he gets there. James Cook. Is that what I said? James Cook is not projected to be in RB2. And I have a guy who's projected even worse as my wide receiver, and I still don't think he gets there. Juju Smith-Schuster. With the news that came out today, his knee could blow up at any time. I don't know what the Patriots are going to do with him. I sure don't trust Mac Jones to feed him the ball like his previous quarterbacks have. So I'm going to say that you should leave Juju Smith-Schuster, who is apparently slated to be wide receiver 42 to start the week. Don't play him.
Okay. My Pine wide receiver is Stephon Diggs. Sauce Gardner did a great job against wide receiver 1s last year. They've had all off season to prepare for this game. Gardner's, got a full year under his belt, and he's I think he's ready to really set himself as one of those true lockdown corners, and he's going to give Diggs a really, really hard time here. So with Diggs coming in at wide receiver 8, I feel like that's too steep for week 1. This game to be a low-scoring affair as the defenses kind of sort each other out here for most of the game, not trying to tip their hat and show too much. And with it being a home game for the Jets, it makes it just that much harder on the Bills. So I'm taking Diggs as my Pine wide receiver.
Yeah, you and I seem to have had kind of a singular mindset there, because I was looking hard at that one too, as potentially going for my my pine there. So I like that one. Jalen Waddle is going to be my pine of the week. He's ranked right now wide receiver number 10 on the week, projected to do about 12.8. It's an average to minus matchup against the Chargers, who, on paper anyway, have a pretty darn good defense. So we'll see how that one comes to do. I think that Waddle can do all right. I mean, but I think we're going to see probably about 9 to 10 points as far as what he actually outcomes. So missing his projected mark there. Plus, very interested to see what that looks like with that kind of midsection injury that was reported this past week on him as well, and how's he looking to hold up on that one. So Jalen Waddle is my pine wide receiver. Heading on over to the tight ends.
Again, really going out on a limb here, week 1 for my pines. I'm going to go with Tyler Conklin, who is not supposed to be doing great, but I don't think he finds the end zone. And in a position that is so touchdown dependent, I think Aaron Rodgers will find literally everybody else on the field before he finds Tyler Conklin.
Fair enough. My tight end pine for week 1 is TJ Hawkinson. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as I alluded to earlier, still have a very, very good defense, right? And they are going to make life really difficult for a Vikings offensive line to find any sort of rhythm in this game. Now, I think Jefferson will find a way to get his. I think Hawkinson might be missed out and actually kept in to block a little bit more this game to give Kirk Cousins a little bit of time. So TJ Hawkinson coming in at tight end number 3. I am going to pine him this week due to the matchup.
Yep. I could see that one. David Njoku is who I've got for my pine tight end, ranked right now, weekly ranked tight end 9, projected to be about 7.8 points on this one. And it's one of those that they've got a tougher matchup against Cincinnati. I think that Cleveland's going to come out and we're going to see a lot of Nick Chubb here week 1. I think we're going to see a lot of Amari Cooper. I just don't necessarily see the David Njoku train leaving the station this week here. So I think that we'll see a miss on those projections for this week. So that's going to wrap up the pines here. Any other thoughts before we move on into the shines?
Do you want to tell people how we're keeping track of this year? We're not just kind of saying, what, oh yeah, I think I got that one right because the guy didn't play or he blew out his knee on the first play.
Fair enough. Yes, that's probably a good take there. So we are definitely changing up how we're doing this. Right, it's not necessarily the whimsical nature that we did this with the past. With I think this one did it because he kind of did that. Right, we're buckling down a little bit, bringing a little bit more of a hard line to this one, and it's you've got kind of a scoring system that we're putting in place here. If you call for a pine and the guy finishes below the rank that you're calling for him to be a pine on. So for instance, right, we'll use David Njoku as a my pine tight end there. He's ranked tight end 9. If he finishes tight end 10 on the week, I'll get a point on that one. And then you get the difference in the missed projection there as well. So say he's projected to do 7.8 points. Say he does 7 points and finishes at wide receiver 10. That would give me 1.8 points for David Njoku on that one. On the flip side, if Alex, it is James Conner Cook there, who's 27 ranked, and James Conner goes out and does all right at if he gets a running back 20, Alex loses 7 points there, and say he gets to 15 fantasy points. He would then lose an additional 4.4 points. So you could get off to a rocky start there with a James Cook minus 11 type of points for Alex on his pine type of thing. But
it's golf scoring, right? Negatives are good. No, all right.
It's fantasy football. It's not golf. It's fantasy football. More points are better, right? Like we've always kind of taken that approach that if we could figure out a way to get score it so guys got points for drinking Gatorade on the sidelines, like I'd make that a scoreable category. So, anyway, any other thoughts on that? We ready to head to the shines?
No, let's do it.
All right, shine it is. So we've got the shines, and same scoring rules apply here, but the inverse, right? Like if you're calling a guy in his rank, you're looking for him to outperform projections and the ranking on that one. And we'll just keep the same order and keep rocking through it the same way.
The funny thing is, I didn't actually check either of your guys's, so I didn't know if I doubled up on you or not. All right. It doesn't look like I did. So my shine for this week, I'll go to that Thursday night game. And what I said, David Montgomery, he's projected to be running back 23. I think that if this game is close late, we get to see a healthy dose of David Montgomery. Like Kevin said, you shorten the game up, you keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. You do that by running the football, and I think that's how Detroit does it. I don't know what Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be, but I do know that David Montgomery is a lot easier to put your faith in than a rookie going up against the defending Super Bowl champs.
So my running back shine this week is going to be Deion Jackson. I'm going to take advantage of Jonathan Taylor being out. And what I was looking at, Derek, you tell me if you saw different, but I saw RB45 for Deion Jackson when I was looking at that. So I think there's a ton of room for a home run play against. If he falls into the end zone, I think he automatically is better than this. So I think there's a lot of room for a ceiling here in this play. So I'm taking Deion Jackson as my shine this week.
Yeah, I've got him RB45, 6.1 projected points is how I've got that one pulled up there. I like it. I like the play there. Little strategery. I like it. Samaje Perine was my shine this week. I've got him as RB35. He's projected to do about 8.5 points. Looking for him to outperform this projection. He's got a plus matchup here. I think that the Broncos are also going to kind of slow roll Javonte getting worked back in here into RB1 for the team. So I think we'll see him, rock and roll back in here soon. But I think Samaje is going to get a fair bit of work here to bring that thing along here. All righty, let's go ahead and head on into the wide receivers.
Yeah, so my shine wide receiver is Jahan Dotson there with Washington. He is projected wide receiver 26. I think he easily outscores that because I'm not sure that Terry McLaurin's going to play in week 1, and that automatically makes Dotson, I think, the top target as the Commanders play a pitiful Cardinals team. I think this might be the easiest game that you get, and a good game for Sam Howell to find a rhythm and really kind of exploit what he can do on offense. So I don't know that Terry McLaurin plays, which I think puts Dotson in a good spot to get a bulk of the work. And so that's why I think that Jahan Dotson is going to well outperform his wide receiver 26 ranking to start the week, or projection, I should say.
I like it. That's Jahan Dotson one. I like your call there. That's going to move us over to Kevin with his wide receiver shine call.
My wide receiver this week, Van Jefferson, with the Cooper Kupp news coming out. These targets have to go somewhere, and there's been positive reports out of Van Jefferson looking like his old self. After kind of fighting off some injuries and everything else. So I think he was really ready to be that true wide receiver 2 for this Rams offense. And now he has a chance to kind of step up and be the one here as Kupp figures out what's going on with his hammy. So again, wide receiver 53, there's a ton of room for a ceiling here. And I think he's able to find it. So I think it's a way to capitalize and get some early points this season.
Yeah. I've got Christian Kirk for my wide receiver shine here. Currently ranked wide receiver 30, projected at a 10.1 points. A very plus matchup going against Indianapolis here. I fully expect Ridley to draw a lot of primary coverage here and see Christian Kirk have a pretty decent game here. Wouldn't surprise me to see him get, somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 or 6 receptions, somewhere around 60 yards there. So I could see him, really kind of just moving ahead of that, potentially getting in the end zone here. So we could see a pretty decent week for Christian Kirk here. Let's go ahead and move on over into the tight ends.
Yeah, so my tight end shine this week is Dalton Schultz down there in Houston. He is ranked for week 1 tight end 13. The Texans have a tough draw playing at Baltimore to start things off. And if I've said it once, I've said it a million times on this podcast. What is a young quarterback's best friend? A good pass-catching tight end, especially going up against a Ravens team, notoriously good on defense. So I think that getting the ball out quickly will be a benefit for CJ Stroud. And usually those guys running those quick routes are a big tight end target. So I like Dalton Schultz to outperform what he's projected.
Right on. My tight end shine is going to be Luke Musgrave out of Green Bay. Good reports on the kid coming out of camp. That him and Jordan Love have a good rapport already. They like what he's been able to do as a weapon. All this kid did in college was catch passes and run after the catch. And I think they're going to try and implement some of that here in Green Bay. It wouldn't surprise me if he ended up, 4 for 55 and a touchdown, right? I mean, not the world's greatest stat line, but at tight end 24, that's money in the bank right there. So Luke Musgrave for my week 1 tight end shine.
I like it. I've got Gerald Everett as my my tight end shine here. Week 1, he's ranked tight end 17, and this is a guy that we've been high on all offseason, late round tight end type of guy here. He's got a plus matchup going up against Miami. Kellen Moore as the new play caller down there in Los Angeles. He likes him some tight end, and I think we'll see Gerald Everett put up a pretty good performance here. Only projected to do about 5.8. It would not surprise me to see Gerald Everett get into the end zone and get another 40, 50 yards on top of that. So I think we could see Gerald Everett with a 10-point type of match or 10-point type of week 1 fantasy performance here. So like that Gerald Everett. That's going to wrap up the pine and the shines. Any other thoughts on the pines and the shines?
This will be a fun exercise this year.
Yes.
It's going to be a lot more grueling than how I used to just do pine and shine, which was throw a dart and hope to God that Greg Dortch was the right call.
I love the Greg Dortch call. Any other thoughts on anything we've hit up here? Do we want to talk about the home league at all tonight?
We can talk about the home league real quick. We can do a breakdown. So we had our home league draft on Sunday. Alex, you were picking in the 4 hole. Is that right? Derek was
he was in the 3. I was in the 8. You were in the 9.
3 or 8, and I was 9. So, I mean, as we've said before, it's scoring on steroids. We give points for as many things as the league will allow. And the draft was interesting, right? Even in the first couple rounds, we had one of the guys who's in Australia trying to draft, who for the first 7-8 rounds, whatever, ended up auto drafting, which is always interesting. But the computer did not do him many favors because it loaded him up with nothing but wide receivers. So we're going to see how that shakes out for him. But I was pretty happy with it. I mean, I wouldn't say that I walked away from that draft thinking, yeah, this is championship caliber just yet. But I did walk away from that draft thinking, all right, I can start with this. This roster will compete, and I will be happy with this. And I'm just going to have to fine-tune some things along the way.
I felt, yeah, I think that's kind of the same way that I felt. Like there were definitely times where, I made a pick and I was like, why did I do that? Or, I wasn't thinking ahead and kind of got caught in the moment of.
You had post-pick clarity?
Yeah. I can't believe you just said that. but I wasn't planning ahead that, oh, hey, I have a keeper in this next round, and I traded away the pick after that, and it kind of caught me off when I, just wasn't prepared for those eventualities. We did a mock draft, which was weird. The computer and the auto draft for some of those other ones, like, ended up, I was actually really comfortable with the mock draft that we had, and then the human element got involved, and then of course the as you mentioned, Kevin, the auto draft that drafted our guy 7 wide receivers in the first 10 picks, or Craig, who told me that he actually had to read a book to his daughter. And went on auto draft, and he came back and he had 6 defensive players on his roster. He's not really sure how that happened, but he read a book and came back and had way too many IDPs. So he was like, "What the hell is going on here?" It was fun. It was fun to see some of the human element in there. Definitely some gamesmanship that was going on. There were some picks that happened that I was completely caught off guard by, which is what's supposed to happen. I will tell you, what a league that I thought had died, which is a league with a lot of my high school buddies. I thought this league had died. I'd been playing in it for the better part of a decade or so. It has not died. So I've got another draft tomorrow night before games start on Thursday with my high school buddies. This one is a 10. It's going to be a 10 team, and it will be an auction draft. This was my first kind of foray into auction drafting. And so I'm happy that this league will live on at least for another year. And so we'll see what happens and see if I can I might have to listen to the Good Old Boys auction draft strategies podcast to get my mind right before we go into it.
We got you covered. So, no, I walked away pretty happy with my roster there. I heard after the fact that apparently some of my picks threw some folks and put some people on tilt almost immediately right out of the gate. Go ahead.
I don't know that it was tilt, but it certainly caught me off guard.
So, yeah, and it was funny because Kevin was drafting right next to me, and like in the second round, I'm literally muttering to myself out loud. I'm like, which Cowboy do I take? Right? Because in the second round, both Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb had fallen to me, and I was going through that one and going, man, which Dallas Cowboy am I going to draft here? Because those were the 2 guys I had really, I had hoped that would be there, and both of them fell there, and I ended up going with with Tony Pollard, and I think Kevin fully thought that I would have gone with the CeeDee Lamb because I'm a huge CeeDee Lamb fan, all the way back to his Oklahoma days there, of course. But and then Alex, he ended up falling to you, with that very next kind of pick, was just the way how some of the keepers and some of that worked out.
It was wild to me that was even an option that I had with the 10th pick in the second round, was CeeDee Lamb still sitting there staring me in the face. And that kind of, I will say, so that was the first pick that I got to make because I had a keeper in the first round. And I think that kind of shifted my entire draft strategy with the fact that CeeDee Lamb was still there. And then kind of forced me to punt the position on running back for a little bit, and then have to clean up that mess, later on. But I definitely was not expecting CeeDee Lamb to still be available when it came to me there at the 10th pick of the second round.
So, yeah, no, I walked away very happy on that one. I know that, it'll be fun to play too, right? Like this league's always a blast and always a lot of fun there. Any other thoughts on this one?
This was year 2 or year 3 of the keepers? Year 3.
Year two. Yeah. Year 2 of the actual draft penalty for keepers.
Right, because we reset completely when we moved to sleeper 3 years ago.
So it's interesting to see how people's mindset changed, right? And how they kind of picked up on, well, at least some of the league did. Some didn't, but some league picked up on, ooh, there's value here. Let's do this. We saw a lot more mid and later round keepers this year than what we saw the previous year. So, which is fun. It makes it fun in seeing how other people want to build their roster. And then there's others where I appreciate the fact that they donate to the cause every year.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So, well, gentlemen, that's all I've got on the sheet. Any other thoughts that we want to hit up here before we call it a night?
I think that's it. Good luck. Good luck to everybody as your leagues kick off. Hope the old saying that we have, may the cash and trophies flow your way. That's not a saying that we have. I just made that up.
Cosign. Enjoy week one. As always, if you guys have any questions about roster construction for week one, obviously with Cooper Kupp and Travis Kelce being two prominent players who you potentially drafted very early and now are in jeopardy of missing their game, and you're wondering where to pivot to, hit us up at Good Old Boys FF across all your socials. We are more than happy to help lend a hand and advise you in any way possible.
Absolutely. And make sure that you head over to that YouTube, click that subscribe button, help us out there, looking to, get at least 30 more subscribers over there here in the next couple of days. That little goal of trying to get to 1,000 before the season starts. Help the boys out. Anyway, yes.
We start our Friday shows.
Yes. Yes, we do. So the Friday Night Lights, it is back, and we are talking everything with the weekend slate there. We're talking over-unders. We're talking spreads. We've got player props galore. And, of course, we're answering every fantasy question that gets popped into the chat there as well. It's always a great time. Everybody come on over, hang out. But best way to get that notification, head over to YouTube, youtube.com/@goodoldboysff. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell. You'll get that notification when we go live 11 p.m. Eastern this Friday, and we'll go 11 p.m. Eastern on Fridays all through the season to help you guys get ready to go for the Sunday affair and the weekend slate there. But that's going to do it for us. He's Alex. He's Kevin. I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe. Toodaloos.